Well, my friends, it would appear we have a Wild West shootout between the Wood Elves, who shall be led by an ancient tree man, and the Skaven, who shall be helmed by the foul-icked Claw. So as far as the build goes, we do have the tree man here in the back, and you guys are probably wondering how the hell is this ancient tree man going to survive against Jezzails and Rattling Gunners and Warp Lightning Cannons? Well, under normal circumstances, he probably wouldn't, but if you're able to pick off their guns and deal with their Jezzails and their Rattling Gunners, he can actually be pretty strong. He can stop Doom Wheels, he can stop Flayers, he can easily tear out most Skaven troops, and he's certainly a presence on the battlefield, and also he's quite cheap for what he does. So we do have the tree man here. I'm not sure how these roots are going to find hold here in the desert, but I'm sure he'll try his best. So to make sure that the ancient tree man does work, we have a lot of tools, like I said, to take out the Skaven range. So up here in the front, we have three groups of the Deepwood Scouts. These guys have stock, they have 180 range, and they can do a ton of damage against Jezzails and the Rattling Gunners, although Jezzails do have silver shields, but even still with the volume of fire, you can usually pick them apart. So we have three Deepwood Scouts. We're going to be trying to sneak up on the Skaven and pick off these Rattling Guns. So you can see my opponent here does have Rattling Guns. He has the Natty Booba Sharpshooters, which are just so brutal. Another group of Rattling Guns. He has a Plague Claw Catapult over here and the Zap Cannon. So it's going to be a ton of firepower here. So three Deepwood Scouts here in the front. We do also have two Waystalkers. So this guy gets a little bit overzealous and yeah, he's going to be paying the iron price. It's going to be pretty rough for this guy. So he's going to be scooting forward. And basically, I'm like, I can pick off Ickit Claw. I can try and snipe out his Rattling Gunners with these guys. And I feel like they're pretty good utility. The Skaven don't have any sort of like hound units or anything that can really punish them or catch them. So, I mean, I guess that's not necessarily true. I mean, yes, they don't have hounds, but they have plenty of tools that can shoot at these guys. So we're going to see how the Waystalkers do. So I have two in total. You can see the first Waystalker gets a little bit overzealous there, so perhaps he just finished watching Lord of the Rings and saw Legolas surfing down these steps of Helm's Deep on an Uruk-hai shield, but yeah, we'll see how it goes for him. In the back, we have two Waywatchers. Waywatchers are there to do the heavy hitting, right? We're going to be going after Ickit Claw. We're going to be sniping at, heavily armored targets if they have flayers or anything of mass. And even still, just against like Rattling Gunners and Jezzails, the Waywatchers have really good range. They're going to be able to really, put a hurting on those guys if they can get in range. But it's not going good, like I said, for Legolas over here. He's going to be taking a heavy pounding, so we'll see how he does. In the back, we got a combination of Dryads and Eternal Guards, one group of the Wild Riders with shields. Nothing really special. They'll be moving up eventually once I'm able to kind of soften up the guns a little bit. And we do also have the Tree Man. So for my opponent, pretty nasty stuff. He's got a front line of Skaven Slaves, Clan Rats in the secondary line, and he does also have two Night Runners on the flanks. These guys are going to be scooting forward and probably identifying my troops and counter-skirmishing me a little bit. I should be able to pick them off with my missiles, but if they're occupying me, I'm also taking gunfire, which isn't really a good situation. In the back, he does have two Rattling Gunners, the Natty Booba Sharpshooters, a bunch of Skaven Slaves with spears, a lot of chaff for me to get through. Ickit Zap Cannon, Ickit Claw is going to be on his Flayer, if I'm not mistaken, which is going to be good against Dryads and things like that. So it's getting pretty crunk in here pretty quick. So let's get this show on the road. So immediately, my Waywatcher, like I said, or the Waystalker, takes a ton of damage from the Sharpshooters and the Warp Lightning Cannon. So that was a really, really bad situation to be in. And I do see my opponent's Skirmishers. So he's going to be coming out with the Night Runners and my Deepwood Scouts, and my Waywatchers will be shooting in just a moment. Unfortunately, I do waste some ammunition here on the Clan Rats, but it happens. So all of our volleys are going to be going into skirmishing units. I know I need to clean these guys up or else they're just going to pick me apart and chase me and troll me. So we're getting some really good damage, but I think my opponent's getting the upper hand here. You can see that the Waystalker here is just getting pounded by those Warp Lightning Cannons, which is just an absolute disaster. So now that the firepower is very heavily focused on the Waystalker and these other troops, I'm like, screw it, I got to move up. I'm probably not going to be able to win with my missiles alone. So let's get the Dryads, let's get the Eternal Guard, and also get a fat regrowth going off here on this Waystalker. So my archers were able to kill the Night Runners here, and on the other side, we pretty much cleaned them up as well. So not a bad trade. I mean, Night Runners cost, what do they cost? Like 600-700, I think the standard version. So my opponent came out a little bit ahead. These Deepwood Scouts took a pounding here, and I guess the Waystalker did heal. So it ultimately, with my healing included, didn't end up being a terrible trade. So now I'm trying to pull back a little bit and restock my units because, of course, Deepwood Scouts and Waystalkers and all those guys do have stock. So I'm trying to get out of range here, but it's not really working terribly well. So as my main force does scoot up, I'm going to be going up and around the flanks with my missiles and trying to get into position to take out these Rattling Guns. So another huge volley coming in, tearing into these filthy Ninja Rats here, and those guys are not having a good time. They're just going to be shreked by these Deepwood Scouts, and although the Ninja Stars might actually finish off this one group, or at least break them, but it looks like the Deepwood Scouts might hold on, but the Wood Elf Archers are holding true here, and it looks like they're going to be able to finish off these Night Runners. On the other side, pretty much the same thing is going to be happening. The Waywatchers with their 190 range are just tearing into the Rattling Guns. And actually having Waywatchers against Rattling Guns is very solid because they do have 70 armor, which is no joke. So being able to, have some AP against these guys is quite useful. They are going to be returning fire against the Deepwood Scouts, but it's not too bad. Rattling Gunners at their maximum range don't have the best DPS. As you get closer to them, they do more damage. So whenever you're coming in with like cav or infantry, that's when they really do a ton of work. So here, able to kind of mulch those guys down with Deepwood Scouts is going to be opening up a ton of play. And the more missile units I get down, the more my Ancient Tree Man is going to be able to scoot forward, but my opponent is going to be switching the Zap Cannon onto the Ancient Tree Man. So this is where things are going to get a little bit tough, because every time the Zap Cannon does make contact with the tree, it's going to be adding to his cooldown. It is a very, very good ROR. So now my missile units are going to be pulling back as my opponent does advance outward with the Doom Flayers. So he has Doom Flayers coming in, his Clan Rats and all these other troops are going to be advancing. So I pull back with the Wild Riders. I mean, I probably could have taken the Doom Flayers or at least pinned them in place, but I was like, let's shoot them with some missiles, kind of butter them up a little bit and see where we can go from there. So the Dryads have engaged in the front line. This is going to be good. The missile units have taken a lot of damage. 2 Rattling Gunners are pretty much dead. His Night Runners are also dead. And the Dryads are going to be taking these Clan Rats to Pound Town. It's going to be a little bit of a grindy fight, but nonetheless, Dryads have pretty good DPS. They have a 34 weapons rank, 35 melee attack. So they're pretty good against like Plague Monks and any of those Plague or Rat Ninja units that have physical resist. In the meantime, the Waystalkers are back online. Both of them are pretty much at full health, and I'm just going to be sniping out the Plague Claw catapults. So the Arrow of Kurnus has already taken out one of the catapults back here, and I'm also going to be switching their firepower onto Ikit Claw. And he's a tough target to kill. He's very much a small target when he's on the Doom Player, so I know I need to invest here. So I'm going to be shooting him with the Waystalkers, and if the Ikit Claw wants to come back and attack me, I do have the Ancient Tree Man, who has good mass and good beatdown potential. So the only thing my opponent really has that can threaten the Ancient Tree Man is the Zap Cannon and the Sharpshooters, and it looks like they were shooting at the Waystalkers, trying to take those guys out, and also shooting at the Wild Riders. So the Wild Riders on the far side have been taking a pounding from the Sharpshooters and his other guns, but thankfully they're still online. I'm going to be trying to charge in here and Last Samurai some of these rats. Thankfully there are some hills here, so this has been very helpful. Some of the rats haven't been able to get good line of sight here, so we're going to be coming in with a huge Mel Gibson charge, trying to get on top of those guys and really put them down, because if we can slip back here and get onto the Zap Cannon, that is going to be so damn good. The frontline fight is relatively even. The Dryads are winning the fight, but of course he has the Flayers and some of these other troops kind of trundling about, but we do get that charge right here. And for anyone who's wondering, I use the word trundling quite a bit, or to trundle. I believe it's a verb that means like to move noisily or loud. It's just something I use to describe my dog. He like moves loud. I think it's kind of fun. I think that's why the troll guy in League of Legends is called Trundle, because trolls are like loud and clumsy and things like that. It's like to move clumsily and also in a loud way. Anyways, the Waystalkers are going to be shooting downtown. Deepwood Scouts still laying into the Natty Boo Bush Sharpshooters, so I was able to get in range of these guys. And finally, I'm able to shoot them with some of these Deepwood Scouts and these Waystalkers and get some good value on these guys. Finally, we're able to break them, which is so nice. They don't have much ammo left, but nonetheless, those silver shields are really paying dues, but it looks like they're not going to break. I really thought they were there. The big tree in the front is doing a pretty good job stomping over some of these rats, being happy and proud. Ikit Claw in the back is unfortunately just going balls deep from some of these Waywatchers and Waystalkers and other troops here. Just doing 360 no-scopes with his lawnmower, but he's going to be taking damage as well. The 2 legless units over here doing some huge work, and the tree is coming to take him to town. He's got his branch. He's going to be laying a big old forest beatdown on this guy. He whips him, but Ikit Claw is a little bit quick here, and you can see the Warp Lightning Cannon still getting some good damage. Sharpshooter shooting it at the tree man still, and it's tough, but thankfully he does have healing, so he's not like Durthu, who can't really heal himself. So he's a strong, independent tree, to say the least. Ikit Claw in the back is going to be taking some work, just kind of riding around, looking for freebies. And the Doom Flayers are doing some pretty good work, but I do have that steady damage. I have the 2 Waystalkers, and the Tree Man is really protecting them. He can't attack them with the Doom Flayers, because if he does, the Tree Man will lay a bit of a beating. Some Eternal Guard nearby could also help. In the back, the Dryads and Wild Riders get a little bit compromised. I do try and force down the Ikit Zap Cannon right here, trying to push through on top of it. And the Wild Riders do get surrounded, and they're just going to be dragged down by a horde of filthy rats, which definitely sucks for them. And the Dryads right here, looks like I'm going to be pulling these guys back. I think I just saw overwhelming numbers here, and I was going to be trying to get back and just re-engage with the Tree Man. But looks like Ikit Claw is getting pretty low. He's taking a lot of damage from the Waywatchers here, and the 2 Waystalkers with their 190 range are just getting steady, just piercing fire on him, which is quite good. Natty Bubo Sharpshooters 100% out of ammo. The Brave Eternal Guard of Athel Loren here going to be pushing in and prison shanking these guys. And these little rat boys, their shields aren't going to help them here. Although, let's watch their attack animations when they're in melee combat. Oh, that's so haggard. You guys see that? The rats in the front like literally grab their shields and just like shield bash them. Oh man, that's so good. So those little rat boys having a little bit of a problem there. But the bounce fire pretty heavily in my favor at this point, as the Doom Players are just being hunted down by the Ancient Tree Man. And it looks like the Brass Orb is going to be going down on top of the Eternal Guard. Such a good ability, that instant cast Vortex. Now the rats do have a bit of a pocket of resistance. They have some Skaven slaves here, Skaven slaves, but it's mostly just chaff. The Ikit Zap Cannon is online as well, but the healing has been able to keep that Ancient Tree Man alive, and most of the missile units have been shut down. The Dryads have had very good fights. 141 kills right here. The other Dryads, let's go ahead and take a look. I know we have some in the back. 111 right there. I mean, they've been able to just grind through and do a ton of work. And the last of the Plague Call catapults, so the Arrow of Kurnus is abilities. It's an ability that's on, I believe the Glade Lords have it, and it's also on the Waystalkers. It's pretty much like a missile attack, but it's very good against Skaven because it can snipe out these very big artillery pieces, sometimes like 1 per shot, which is very good. So the Eternal Guard are able to take out those filthy plague rats, and that is going to be all she wrote. So I actually like that build quite a bit. Now, I don't know. I feel like it could be a little bit tough if my opponent had, for example, gone with like a couple more groups of the sharpshooters. Well, not sharpshooters, but Giselles, and maybe had a bit more of a frontal formation. So his troops are a little bit farther up because I was able to close the distance between my archers and his guns relatively quickly. So I think had they been a little bit further back, it could have been better. But I do like the inclusion of the flayer and mixing of the guns. It makes it very tough to account for sure. But I think the Waystalkers are pretty good for sniping the Skaven characters and some of the bigger targets and the artillery pieces. The Tree Man was the only thing that's a bit of a wild pick. I mean, I kind of wanted to get the Tree Man or a Caster Lord so I could get the double Waystalker, because obviously on ladder you can't have multiple. You can't have more than a character and then or a Lord and then two characters. So I think he's a pretty good pick. I just think you really have to build around him and bring the archers to kind of open things up, because if the archers can close the distance, they can pick off the Rattling Gunners and the Giselles. I mean, that's going to be pretty good. And they have stock too. So, I mean, yes, your opponent's going to be able to scout you out and get some shots beforehand, but you're able to usually sneak up and get some good value. So I think it's a decent build. And for my opponent's build, I'm trying to think what would be more optimal against Wood Elves. The Ickit Claw is always a pretty good choice. I mean, he's just a menace. He's a terror. On that Doom player, he's pretty good. But of course, I think having summons is going to be very useful as well. But I do like the build. He has the Night Runners for scouting. He was able to identify me, but the Rattling Gunners just felt a little bit limp. I think had I gone with a more like blitzy build with like Wild Riders, the Rattling Gunners would have been able to get more value. But I don't know. I feel like they're not super good in the Wood Elf matchup because Wood Elf archers have better range and you can really take them apart. Honestly, I think just spamming the sharpshooters and things like that could be better. So on that note, very well played to my opponent Bob Dang. Let's go ahead and take a look at a Skaven build that I think would be very good against Wood Elves in general. So we're going to jump over here, go back, and see what we can find. So custom battle. Oh man, I just spent all day at the DMV. It was pretty nasty. DMVs are not fun places. So Ickit Claw isn't a bad choice. Getting him on the Flayer I think isn't bad. I mean, the AP is pretty useful. So what you do with him is you probably just get these two spells. I think Warp Lightning is still pretty good, and the Howling Warp Gale. And from there, I do think you need a Plague Priest. The Plague Priest is just so damn useful. So for him, you just get summons. It's going to be helpful for like blocking up Wood Elf charges and things like that. And you do have to respect the mass, charge, because players like Falcon, for example, would probably just bring like, 4 groups of Wild Riders and just all kinds of pressure, and it would be really tough to defend. So I think going with, you could even go with a Skaven Blitz build. I feel like that'd be really tough for the Wood Elves to handle, like a couple Doom Flayers and things like that. Man, that could be really good. But how will you beat Wild Riders is the question, because Wild Riders are very good against like Doom Flayers and things like that. I mean, they don't burn them down, but it's kind of a bit of a atrocious trade that isn't going to be super good. So let's go with the gun build for now. So we'll get the sharpshooters. I think going with a couple Giselles is going to be just super good. You have to keep them very, very far back. So in the front, I think getting 2 of the Stormvermin with these swords and shields isn't going to be bad. From there, we can get some Clan Rats with shields. Excuse me. We're going to mix in spears though, because the spears, of course, are very good against the cav units and things like that. Get a couple Skaven slaves. I do like the Plague Claw catapults. I think that was a really, really, really good pick from my opponent here. So we'll get that. And let's see here. Do we want to get another one? I think just one is probably fine for now. Because the Giselles, if he comes in with a Glady or any single entities, they're going to get annihilated by the Giselles. Plague Claw catapults are pretty good, but you do need to have like some scouting to kind of see what your opponent's up to. So let's see. Do we want to have an assassin of any sort? I don't think we need the Unbreakable Council Guard. I mean, although that could be okay for like defending your back line against like cav and things like that. So from here, let's go ahead and get a couple of these guys. I don't know if they have, I don't think they have stock. I mean, getting the Night Runner Slingers isn't bad just for like volume of fire. You could even get some like Skaven Slave Slingers. I feel like those guys are always pretty useful. So we'll get some of those. It's tough because Wild Riders are going to be a serious issue, but Giselles do a lot of damage to them, but I feel like we still need something with decent mass. And I mean, I guess Doom Flayers aren't a bad option against Wild Riders. It's going to be a little bit tough. I do like the Doom Flayer pick though. I felt like that was a pretty good pick for my opponent for sure. So the Catapult's going to be able to kind of pound the infantry and the archers from a good range. Ickit Claw is going to be on his Flayer as well. I think getting a second Flayer is going to be good. So yeah, Stormvermin, Clan Rats in the front line. The second front line is going to be Skaven Slaves with Spears. We have Slingers. We have 2 Flayers to kind of push in and scout out a little bit. And they're pretty tough to kill with missile units, so I feel like something like this could be good. Just get another Skaven Slave there and we'll be good. I don't know. It's a bit experimental, but it's something I'm going to be trying out. So again, well played to my opponent. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this battle, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.